Hi, welcome back to Tea Time with Allie and
Angelique.
We're so glad you're here. Today, we are talking about dating flops.
Ah, the flops.
The flops, flippy flop. I don't know why I said that.
Me either, but I'm kind of here for it. It's fine.
So, if you want to go listen to our podcast episode about intentional dating.
Oh yeah. Do that.
It's
a good idea.
We'll talk a little bit about dating and the point of it, I guess, just to, before we get into our flippity flops. Not to be confused with flip flops.
Don't know what you're doing right now.
Oh no.
But it's fine. Here we are. Yeah, so
I've been hanging out by myself all day.
Oh,
Not a person to talk to.
that's fair. That checks out. You don't talk to the cats when you're alone?
No. Except to tell them to leave me alone. Anyway. So what's the point of dating, Angelique?
So the main point of dating is to find your husband or your wife if you're a man. Your whole purpose is to be looking for your spouse, not just messing around.
Yeah. And that's not to say that dating isn't fun.
It can be fun.
If you're not having fun, then probably not a good omen. But so a lot of people go into a first date and they think, if I'm not gonna marry this person, I'm not going on a second date. But do you really know somebody after a first date? And that's not to say that all first dates are gonna go to a second date, because there are definitely some people where you meet them and you're like,
Nope.
no.
This isn't gonna work.
And so I think that that's an important thing to remember too, is that when you go on a first date, don't go in with the mindset of this is my future husband, and if it's not, it's over. Because, you don't really know a person after one date.
No, and sometimes you don't really know a person after a month.
It
It takes time to get to know a person.
Yeah, and it's not as though you're going to know every single thing about them before you get married. But
Absolutely not.
It's also you take the time to get to know them to the point where you're okay, if I had a child that was like this person, this is what I always like to think. I'm if I have a son that was like the person that I'm dating, would I be proud of that person? Would I be okay with that? And if that's the case, then for me it works,
Yeah. It's a solid way of thinking about it.
Yeah, because if the thing is when you raise children, they're not going to be exactly like the person that you married, but
But they're gonna be like you and that person.
Yeah.
So maybe you should also like yourself.
Yeah. So there's no place to set it down. You gotta hold it.
I'll just hold it forever. Anyway, yeah, so it's very good to be in a place where you know yourself and like who you are, because also that's important too.
Yeah, and I always think in my head, it's okay to be selective.
Yes. Know what you want.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not date people who aren't what you want.
And that's to say, know what you want, but also don't raise your expectations so high that you're disappointed in everyone.
Yeah.
Because the person that you end up dating or marrying is probably not going to be exactly how you picture them.
We're all human, and you can't expect perfection.
Yeah. And so the most the most I could say about thinking of this person didn't meet the expectation I had is thinking I didn't think that I was going to be older than the person that I'm dating, and it was weird at first, and it's weird to other people, but it makes sense to me,
Every now and then I'll just point out what she was doing when he was a certain age, because it's really funny to me. She doesn't like that game.
No.
It's pretty fun though.
He likes to call me ancient too. But if I'm ancient, Angelique's decrepit, so.
Rude.
Yeah. Anyway, so like that's like a superficial thing, I think. You know, but it's also like once you are in that relationship too, you're probably going to change yourself. Like, not like on purpose or always, like, but you start to like grow with that person. And so parts of you start to change a little bit too.
Yeah.
Which is okay. That's what's kind of supposed to happen.
Yeah. But definitely date people that have similar, like,
Values.
interests.
That too.
Values. Values is good, but also interests. You're going to want to be able to do stuff with somebody that, like, you both find joy in.
Yeah. But that's not to say if you have some different interests that you can't learn another one. Like, my boyfriend really likes fishing, and had never really been fishing before. But now I have a fishing license. So it's like...
This is just... I can't with you.
What? I'm just saying, like, there's like, yeah, like we both like hiking. So, like, that's something we did on, like, our third date, I think. Third or fourth. And so it's like we had similar interests and things, but now we have interests that we like pursue together, and then we still have interests that we pursue separately. So it's, you know, and then there are some times where he'll tell me things and it'll go right over my head because I'm like, that's a lot of information you just poured into my head. And eventually I'll get it.
I can't do anything with that stuff right now.
Eventually it'll stick. But it might take a few times. Anyway, all that to say, this video is supposed to be about dating flops. So,
flops.
Angelique, tell me about your worst date ever.
It was the first date. I was in high school. It was a guy I had a crush on for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I, you know, we were friends, obviously, because it was high school, and that's how you develop crushes, or at least that's how I did in high school. I don't know how normal people did things, because hi, I'm me. Anyway, my friend made him ask me out, so that was never a good beginning. And then it was two of my friends together that co-inspired and conspired against me. And then they made him ask me out, and then we went to a movie, and it was Man of Steel.
Oh.
And it was so obnoxiously loud, and I had no idea what was going on. I was bored out of my mind, and it was super awkward. And then we didn't say a word to each other the whole ride home because both of us were awkward. And we were like, yeah, we'll never do this again. And then I left.
Okay. One thing. If somebody asks you out to a movie date as a first date, say, what if we go get coffee instead?
It was so awkward.
Coffee is like the perfect first date because once you're done with your coffee, if you're done talking, you're done talking. But you can sit at a coffee shop for hours. So, my biggest piece of advice when it comes to dating is first date is a coffee shop or like something quick, like ice cream. I went and got boba tea on a first date one time. I'd never had boba tea before. I don't know if I'd go for a walk in a park.
I would, especially if it's a small park.
Well, but if it's here's the thing. If you're internet dating, no.
Well,
if this is a friend, like if it's
if it's a public park and there are other people,
no,
it's
I'd
fine.
still say no.
See, I would do it in a public park.
No.
I'm completely fine with that, but different.
We're different people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if it's like a friend that asked you out on a date, sure, go to a park. And you probably already know them. So
It'll help.
Yeah, but never go to a movie as your first date.
It sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And originally he had planned for us to watch one of the Fast and Furious movies. I think it was like 5 or 6, but it might have been 4. I don't know. Thankfully, it was sold out, so we didn't have to watch that. But it sucked either way.
You know, my first date ever was with a guy that I had been dating for a month. He had asked me to be his girlfriend. We'd been friends since 8th grade. And he asked me to be his girlfriend. And then we didn't go on our first date until we were a month into our relationship because we were both so busy. It was like the end of our junior year of high school. And then he was gone for part of the summer, then I was gone, and then it was just a whole thing. And so, anyway, but our first date was dinner and then a movie. And like, we already knew each other, so it was fine, but I remember, like, I don't know, he tried to, like, do the whole put his arm around me thing in the movie theater, and I was like, what do I do here? But, yeah, that was, it wasn't my worst date ever. I'll say that.
What was your worst date ever?
Oh, no. She already knows this
I
one.
do, I'm so excited.
I've told it on the podcast too, so it's not that big a deal. But I think when I was like 22, so this was like 5 years ago? I'm 27 now? Yeah, about 5 years ago, almost.
Was it really that long ago?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
No.
I still lived with our other roommate at the time.
Yeah.
Like we didn't live together
so
yet.
Weird.
It's funny because it really helped shape a lot of who I became. But
this one bad date.
yeah, well, I had a lot of other issues going on at the time. I hadn't really dealt with my anxiety yet. And after this date, I was ready to go to counseling. So, yes, it did help. It pushed me to be the person I am now. But I'd been talking to this dude off of Catholic Match for like 2 weeks. And he was really intense. I think he was ready to be married, like, very quickly. And I felt like agreeing to a second date with him was like agreeing that I'm going to be engaged in the next 6 months. And that is... for
banana
a
short amount of time.
With anxiety, that's a lot. And like, I know that for some people that works, but at the time I hadn't dealt with my anxiety yet. I wasn't like completely sure about this person, and so it really did feel like this first date was like if I'm not gonna marry him, don't go on a second, was like the biggest like issue I saw.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then after that, he kept saying like, like, just because you're not interested anymore doesn't mean I don't think you're worth pursuing. And I was like, that's not how that works. Like, the thing is like, I told him we could be friends, and then he kept flirting with me in text messages, and I was like, no, I'm trying to set this boundary, and if you're not going to respect it, I can't really talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
And so...
good for you.
Yeah, and setting boundaries. But anyway, so that was my worst date ever, because I went home and like the whole next morning I just cried. Like it was bad. It was a bad morning.
It's a bad
date.
Because
the worst part is while he was explaining his like plan is like he wanted to be married within 9 months. So it's like in the Catholic Church, you have to go through marriage prep, and the shortest marriage prep I know of is 6 months. And that's like speed run marriage prep. And so it's like we would have been engaged.
There's been an accident. Let's get married.
Yeah. Fast. We've been engaged for 3 months. It would like after 3 months, that's when we would have gotten engaged. And because this didn't sound great to me, there were other things, and at the time I was not willing to like address the other things, because it had to do with like financial stability too, is like reasons I was putting forth, but really it was this is really fast. But he called me neurotic. And so I was the next morning.
Not the description word you want to use on a date.
Not the move, men. Not the move. And so the next morning I was just like, the whole time I was like, It's like, am I neurotic?
No.
This is why I do this. I'm neurotic.
You're not neurotic.
And no, I know.
I know you know.
I know I'm not neurotic. So anyway, that was the worst date I've ever been on. But I've had a lot of flops.
Had a lot of flops too.
Yeah. What's another flop you got?
So I met this guy
Oh.
on a dating site. I can't remember which one.
Is it the one that I think you're talking?
Maybe. No, I still lived with Maggie at the time. But
Okay.
it might be the one you're thinking about.
Okay, keep going.
I said her name and that was an accident. It's fine.
She doesn't care.
Sorry. Anyway, and I really liked him. And we texted a lot and it was great. And we talked a lot. Like he called me on the phone twice. And I was like, ooh, like I really like this guy. It's gonna be really good. And then we met for coffee and he was so like weird and he wouldn't make eye contact and he didn't talk to me the entire time we were sitting there. And I like chugged my coffee and I was like, it was great to meet you. And I booked it because he was so normal. And then like he wouldn't look at me and he wouldn't talk to me and it was just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
How do you date somebody who won't even make eye contact?
Yeah.
So I like chugged a hot latte. It was a hot latte. Chugged it and was like, I'm so glad we did this. Thank you. And I booked it out of there.
Yeah.
What about you?
Another
What's your next
one.
flop?
Let's see. Gotta reach in the basket of bad first dates. Not bad first dates.
Just like not dates that went anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, so after the guy who called me neurotic, I was
Mhm.
talking to that one dude for a long time.
So long.
And he lived in a different city that was like a few hours away. And so we met in the middle for a first date. And then the first date went well. We continued talking after that. And then like no. The date was in November. And then in like
January,
February. It was
February.
February because I
Yeah.
remember I met my niece
Yes,
right after
yes.
that. Like all of a sudden stopped talking to me. And I was just like,
Ghosted her completely.
yeah. And I had texted him one day and I said, like, before he ghosted me, I said, look, if this is like not something you're interested in anymore, please let me know. Like, it's like, you know,
It's fine.
it's fine. I just need to know, because at the time I was in counseling and like working on my anxiety, but it wasn't like I wasn't ready to like do certain like I wasn't ready for that without knowing what was going on. But then just ghosted me like a week later. Yeah, it was more of a like deep dive into not a flop. That was a
Yeah, you
Yeah.
fell off the cliff there.
yeah.
Because y'all talked for so
Mhm.
long.
It was like October
Yeah, October to February is a long time.
Yeah. That's very similar to the dude I talked to last year, except we ended on much more amicable terms.
Yeah,
I
remember that.
That was also distance.
Distance doesn't always work.
It doesn't.
Most of the time doesn't.
And it's hard. I think distance works better if you have a foundation already. It's hard to start dating someone who's distance already. And especially with the other one, the one that happened last year, because it was like a 6-hour drive.
6 hours is
Yeah.
a long many hours.
Yeah. But that one ended very amicably.
Which is good.
Yeah. No, that
An
one.
amicable end is way better than...
Yeah. And then like a few months later, I met
your boyfriend.
Yep. I met my boyfriend a few months after that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Any other flops? Haven't we been on dates with the same guy too?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was my next story. So there's a guy in college who dated through the Catholic Center.
Oh yeah.
He dated through he dated a lot of the people there.
Yeah.
And
From
so
what
that's
I
really fun.
heard, his goal was just to date a Catholic girl.
So
which
of course, that was just all of us.
Is not a it's not a bad requirement, or I guess like expectation.
No, absolutely not.
Because personally, I wouldn't date anybody that's not Catholic at this point. And it's only because I just feel like your values have to match.
And they don't if you're not.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not Catholic, they don't match. And so, but so it's not a bad thing to want to date someone that's Catholic.
Yeah.
But his pretty much only requirement was that they were Catholic.
Yeah.
But how many dates did you go on with him?
2.
I think I had 3.
Ooh.
I know.
I went for, maybe it was 3. Went for a hike at a game preserve. Did you also go for a hike at a game preserve?
Not at the game preserve, at Bonita Creek.
We also, after that, hiked at Bonita Creek. And then we went to Chili's.
Wow.
College, man.
No, so him and I met him when I got there.
Yeah.
Because I was wearing one of the Catholic shirts,
Mm-hmm.
and we met at where I was working because we had an in-service. And then like a week later, he asked me out to a date, and we went to Fuzzy's.
Ooh.
And then didn't talk to me for months. And then all of a sudden, I think he remembered I existed.
He like saw you probably, was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And then asked me out again. And that's when we went for a walk. And then we set up our separate hammocks and hammocked there too. Had to clarify that.
Yeah. You don't want anybody thinking you're sharing a hammock.
I know. Spicy.
Sorry, I hit your legs so
It's okay. No, you didn't.
It just felt like it was too hard.
And then, oh my goodness. And then we went to Mass on a Wednesday night, and then we went to his apartment and watched Sky High. So like I was really close to where y'all lived there's his house.
Yeah.
We were like right there.
He went on a date with my roommate in that house, and then asked her if it'd be okay if he took me on a date, but I didn't find that out until later. And then we went on 3 dates, and he lived across the street.
Yeah. Man.
College is weird. Life is weird.
Yeah, and the thing is like first dates are usually typically like, okay, whatever. But like if you're taking multiple different people on like a few dates and things just aren't working, I think there's a problem, you know? And like that's not to say like there's nothing I'm ashamed of, or like nothing that I haven't been ashamed of. Like I have been ashamed of some of the things I've done. Like I get upset that I got ghosted by that one dude.
But that one dude was wrong for that.
But like I've also just stopped talking to certain people on dating apps. But I think if it's different if you haven't met them in person.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh no, I've ghosted some pretty creepy dudes.
Well,
on dating apps.
And then there's just like times when it's like I was a big like when I started like trying to date and things, there was this big like I listened to my gut on it. Like with the guy in college, I listened to my gut telling me like this was a bad idea. Like I couldn't eat. I could not eat because I was so just distraught about this. And so like I like there were times where I was just like I can't do it.
Yeah. I low-key want to know how many girls he actually like dated a couple of times while we were in college. Like, I want to ask, but like it feels like such a weird thing to be like, hey, did you ever go on a date with this guy?
He unfriended me on Facebook and everything, so I think he's like actually upset with me.
What'd you do to upset him?
I don't know. Because we worked together afterwards, and he actually had a girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't actually know if we're friends.
He had the same name as my boyfriend in high school. And so it's like I dated that guy in high school, and then I dated this guy, and I made a joke that that's the only guy I could date is the guy with the same name.
That would be so funny.
I know.
If you like only dated people with that name.
That would be really funny,
It'd be
but
so funny.
you know, that's not gonna happen.
Oh, we're not friends either.
Oh, maybe he just went through and like cleaned out all of this stuff.
He said, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh, he's married. Did you know he was married?
I did not know he was married. Is this the same girl he was dating?
They got married in 2020.
Sorry, we didn't mean to just, you know.
Sorry,
this.
guys. Anyway.
Good for him.
Good for him, I guess.
Yeah. He figured it out eventually.
Yeah.
Hopefully the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
But I'm sure we have plenty more dating flops we could talk about.
Yeah.
But it's a 26-minute video at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's a little long.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a good starting point unless you have another really good one you want to share before we go.
No, I mean, the only other guy, really, honestly, like, the extent of my dating history is high school, the one dude in college, yeah, it's
So
like,
when I talk about the guy,
which one?
that your mom set you up with.
I forgot about it!
It was so fun. Yeah.
Oh, he ghosted me too, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
he
mom
did.
had been trying to set me up with this one guy, like, ever since he got confirmed. And then finally got me to just go meet him. And then we went out on a date. And then after Easter, like, he never talked to me again.
Just like.
And he lived where my parents lived, so it was like, whatever. But I had taken, we went to Steak Fest at my mom and dad's.
Mhm.
And his dad and his stepmom showed up while I brought my boyfriend with me. It's fine.
The awkward moment.
Yeah, I was sitting there like, this is fine. I'm fine. I'm not uncomfortable at all.
Everything is good.
Yeah. And I think at this point, my boyfriend's at least used to like why are you uncomfortable right now? Good.
Just assume I am uncomfortable and I'll tell you later, you know?
Like, he didn't ask at all, and I was like, I don't know if you noticed. And he goes, I didn't notice. And I was just like, I just live in a state of being uncomfortable. Not really. But it was.
I feel that in my gut.
Goodness. Oh, man. Yeah, no, that was. Yeah, that one was a bummer. I was kind of like, really?
Just never talk to me again.
And then Aseneth always tried to set me up. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Anyway.
with guys that live not here.
Well, obviously, she wants you to move back home.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening to our bit about dating and then our dating flops. If you have any funny dating flops you want to drop below, we would love to read and laugh.
I would love to read them, and if you want us to
Fun.
share them,
Oh, absolutely.
let us
That'd be
know.
really fun. So go ahead and like and
It's
subscribe.
hard out there.
It is.
Dating is like, honestly, one of, like, finding a person to date and then, like, actually getting into a relationship. I think it's one of the most difficult things I've ever tried.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even include being in the relationship.
At this point, I'm taking a break because it's just not worth my energy. I've got too much going on to be attempting to find a husband at this
and
current
like,
moment.
and here's the thing. I think we said this in our control video, but like, there are times when like yes, like God will give you the person that He meant for you, or like meant for you at the time. Because I mean, I also don't believe in soulmates.
I don't believe so.
Just because people change so much, and like, I was not the person I was when I graduated high school that I am now, or high school, college, whatever you want to say. Like,
Yeah, I bet high school Allie would be shocked by your choice in me.
High school Allie, she'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Stop.
Thinking about that. Well, because high school Allie hadn't even like worked at Philmont yet. She didn't, like, she liked camping, but it wasn't, like, a big deal to her. Like, she was such an inside person. But so, like, that's the thing, is, like, I don't believe in soulmates. I believe there are people you're compatible with, as you, like, grow and change, and, like, the person that you'll grow best with may be completely different than they would have been 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
heck, even sometimes yesterday.
I think even college Allie wouldn't be very compatible with
I don't think so either.
my boyfriend now. Like, I don't
even think first or second year teacher Allie.
No, I don't either. That's the thing. Like, I think I had to go through some of the things that I went through, and, like, I had to change and grow as a person before I could meet him.
Absolutely, I agree.
And, like, you know, when you're dating, you're still discerning marriage, so it's like there's still the possibility that we don't get married.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, even if that doesn't happen, I'll have still learned so much about, like, myself in a relationship. Like, I'll still have changed and grown with him, but still, like, individually, to where I think no matter what, it was a good point in time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely it does.
Which, like, I don't know. So, like, all that to say is, like, I don't believe in soulmates. Like, I think that there are people you're compatible with as you grow and change, and I don't think that you need to rely on the idea that there's only one person out there for you, because, like, the thing is relationships aren't just, like, compatibility. They're also, like, learning and understanding the other person.
Absolutely.
And, like, you have to, like, yes, falling in love is pretty easy, but, like, working on your relationship and, like, staying in love, as cheesy as that sounds, is, like, still something you have to foster and, like feed, basically. Like, you have to grow it like a plant. Like, you have to, like, water the soil, feed the soil, and all of this other stuff. Like, you still have to do those things. It just, because you're in love doesn't mean it's over. Like, the work is over.
Yeah.
You have to, again, grow yourself in order to, like, keep growing with that person.
Absolutely.
And so, like, don't give up. It's okay to take breaks, though. I've taken many a break.
Breaks are good. If you need to step back, step back.
Yeah, because there are, like, the thing about the dating apps, if you're on the dating apps, is that you feel so much rejection all of the time.
100%.
Especially if it's, like, been months since somebody talked to you more than just saying, hey. Or, like, and, like, I know the statistics and things, it's like there are more men on dating apps than there are women. But again, you also have to pick the right dating apps. Like, you don't want to just pick, like, Tinder, because Tinder is not going to foster a good relationship most of the time.
You are not going to find a spouse on Tinder.
Yeah, so
you might. There's probably, like, 1% of people who do.
Yeah.
But 99% of people are not going to find what they're looking for.
And, like, the thing about, like, Catholic Match, which is where I met my boyfriend, is that you do have to pay for those. Like, and so, like, yes, God is going to put someone in your life when it's time. But there are other things that you could be doing to help it along. Like, it's like, yeah, God's always there, right? But he's not going to put you in church and tell you to go, right? You have to make those choices. So you have to, like, actively make choices if you're interested in a relationship. And then you get a bunch of fun dating like, stories. Like we just did.
To tell your
internet friends.
Other. Anyway, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell so you get notifications. If you have any video ideas, drop those below or send them in the email, or message the Common Sense Catholic on Facebook. Allie's in charge of that, so that'll get to us super quick. Don't forget to keep striving for lightness, and we'll see you next week. No, 2 weeks from now.
I forgot again. That's
I guess
the third video in a row.
I guess I've given up on us being influencers.
Yes!
But that's what Allie really wants in life. Look at that face.
No.
She wants to be an internet influencer.
I actually want to be off the grid.
No, she wants to be an influencer. She wants everybody to watch everything she does for the rest of her life. So go ahead and make us popular so Allie can get what she wants and be the influencer of her dreams. We'll see you next 2 weeks from now. Hopefully we'll have an idea for a video by then. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.